the reason why the Switch is ultimately so successful compared to like the Wii U or something is like I was saying, like Game Boy in the car during a car trip, like we had that, and then I had the Nintendo DS, and like handheld gaming since the Game Boy, it has been a huge deal for every generation of children. The Switch really was the first to truly combine it. You know, PS Vita tried to like have a link with the PlayStation and Nintendo 3DS with like the Wii U, but it didn't quite work. Switch was truly on the go and at home, like, and that is just brilliant, especially for kids who are in the car a lot. Like,
and that design
it's a big deal. Yeah.
was brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
I don't fault them for not changing the design of the
Right.
console for the Switch too, because if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I think
Right.
we've learned that over the years with handheld consoles who are like, we're reinventing the hand, and it's like, this was good, you don't have to. And really the Switch OG walked so that the Steam Deck could run, because the Steam Deck took the same design concept.
True, yes.
The side,
Yeah.
not even removable Joy-Cons, but the side
Right.
the side cons with the big OLED screen. So like, I think it's fine, that they're keeping what works for the Switch 2, and they're
I get
making
it.
some upgrades that I think the main demographic of people who play the Switch would like, and then
Right.
would continue to want to buy, from them.
100%. I think, and honestly, Nintendo just kind of looked around at the world and saw all these iPad kids, which, no offense to any Gen Zs that are offended by that term. Truly, I don't mean any offense by that, but like, yeah, I think that's like why the Switch works so well. It's like you combine the video game console perfect for the iPad kid generation.
Yeah.
Like and it works. Like, it's a good idea. I've seen a lot of those people with those Switches with the like the throw proof where like a kid can throw
the
it.
rubber,
They have
yeah.
the iPads wrapped in. Like, it makes sense. And I play a Switch, so like I'm a
exactly, right.
old man, and I'm playing it too. So
I'm a
like,
big baby.
yeah.
And again, don't want to yuck anybody's yum. I feel like when we previously talked about it, we were pretty negative. I wanted to bring some lightness to this discussion, but just talk realistically about the things that matter, aka the price points.
It's a little high.
And the game exclusives and releases.
It's high for Nintendo.
Yeah.
For them to jump to the $80 stuff, and I know there's some precedent for it with like other big titles, but it's a little strange, especially with like a launch title, which they're trying to incentivize you buying. Like, it's just a weird precedent, especially because this is way more expensive than any other console they've ever. Which money inflates, I get that.
Right.
If
And
you adjust for inflation, it's probably comparable to some other stuff.
The little devil on my shoulder is like, okay, let's see what the first big issues with the Switch 2 are. I'm a little bit like, okay, let's see how much you've improved. Maybe you did.
Yeah.
Maybe it is just creme de la creme, and we're going to look back on this in 10 years and be like, oh, they nailed it.
Well, and one thing we talked about too previously, and I'm curious what you think of this, is I was kind of making fun of how there was no real, you revolutionized this, that, and the other as Nintendo, and then Switch 2. Where's like the hook? What's the crazy thing that's blown my mind that smart people at Nintendo can think of that I didn't? What's the gimmick, And it's this. It's a mouse. Like, and yeah, their C button, the way they connect with like gaming, it's, again, like, it's a headset. Xbox Live Party. We don't want to relive those days, first of all, but like, that is more efficient than, no one wants to be on camera.
Yeah.
And some people do, but like, it's a whole thing. And there's still like, oh, you still have to be friends with, I don't know, their whole online like C button being like, oh, I want to talk to people constantly while I'm gaming.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to do that.
And I mean, it's hard because coming from like computer PC gaming, you need like Discord, like you need an outside source.
It's trying to replace Discord,
right? Which I'm like, I don't know if you need to do that.
It's more limited than Discord, so
right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I struggle with this too, just gaming with friends, where it's like, some people are on console, some people are on PC, some people are on a Steam Deck, and it's like, let's all get on Discord. So people are like on their phone on Discord, headphone plugged in. So there's no good solution. I see what they're trying to do. I don't fault them for and they're trying to lock in that IP. They want it to be all Nintendo. They don't want you to go anywhere else.
They want to create a little cult of the Nintendo people socializing with Nintendo. And
through Nintendo's chat, like they don't want you to go on Discord.
Well, and they've had complaints too about, the approach to their online, chat and community.
I remember trying to use it with Animal Crossing.
Oh, it was terrible.
So
terrible. They've been fighting that, and it's still, they always have these half measures that are kind of like, but it's basically a Google Meets or Skype call with like you and 3 friends. Like,
oh God, them saying the word
fucking
Skype.
whiz.
It's like after Zoom put them out of business, baby. Yeah. After they fell off the map.
That was my Freudian slip, I guess.
But no.
Okay.
I think we've.
Well, one last thing I want to ask you about. Come on, this is a big deal to switch to. Like, we're gonna.
I'm over it.
We're wet on content now with the Switch 2 release.
My teeth are wet. Go on.
We're wet on content instead of drying with content.
Yeah.
This is the big old like hook for the Switch 2, right? You can put the Switch 2 Joy-Con on its side and use it as a mouse. And that's cool. And like they tried that with the Super Nintendo way back when with Mario Paint.
I don't think it's cool.
Go on.
What you're gonna ask me?
Well, yeah, I'm curious what you think because I'm torn on it. I'm torn on it.
I feel like it's innovation for innovation's sake type of thing where they're like, and we've done something crazy, something none of you would have expected from a handheld console. And I'm like, yeah, because then you're just on a computer. Yeah. What are you talking about, Nintendo?
And that's kind of the thing. It's like you literally had gaming with, like, you created like some sci-fi fucking Star Trek shit 50 years, like motion control video games 15 years ago. No, more than that. Oh my God. The Wii came out 20 years ago. That's ridiculous. But like, that was, 19 years ago, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, but you reinvented 3D gaming and all this, and now you're like the new, and then like a tablet game, and then like the Switch, which is like ultimately diverse, and now it's a mouse, and it's like, okay, I'm sure it's a really good mouse and it's gonna work really well with these games, but it's also a thin little Joy-Con,
right?
That you then need a flat surface, which, as we all know, living in New York, sometimes those don't exist.
Yeah, and then like on your lap,
and that's not gonna work. Like, no,
I think it's cool that the original Switch. You had the option to play it as a console game and plug it into your dock.
And that was their gimmick. And it was a good gimmick.
Take it on the go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Like
I'm a gimmicky boy. So I don't mean that as a bad thing.
It's not even a gimmick. It's just good design.
I mean gimmick in a good way.
This is gimmick in a way where it's like, who's doing that? And for what game could you possibly be wanting to, where you're like,
well,
I don't want to do,
what? Any PC gamer will tell you why a mouse and keyboard is
more. But that's why you play PC games. I'm like, no one goes on their Switch to be like, I want to play PUBG. Like, what?
Some people do. Not me, but some people do.
Maybe. It's just, to me, it feels like, I'm not sure what crowd sourcing they did where they got the response that was like, and make it a mouse. Yeah.
But ultimately, they're playing it safe in a way because it's like, what can you creatively do?
Where no one's gonna get mad.
While still being the Switch, too. It's like, we can take the design and put an infrared thing and make it a mouse. Like, great, we got it. And then make it a little bigger. But I don't know. I'd say this all the time. I'm not smart. Like, I don't work for Nintendo for a reason. They don't want me. I'm trespassed. So, like, what would you have in mind as like a quirky new gen kind of crazy idea for Nintendo to really kind of tap into?
I think where Nintendo excels, they do have good gimmicky things. There are things like, this is such an offshoot, but like Pokemon Go.
Oh yeah,
was such a crazy explosion. Game changer. I think there's something to be said about how accessible Nintendo is and how adaptable they are. But I think they're trying now to prove themselves as like, but remember Nintendo 64? That's also us. And now we have IPs that are like PC IPs. So like, that's also us. Here's what I would imagine. Something like the Switch, and a handheld on-the-go gaming system. Mm-hmm. That's small enough that it works. And then, similarly to what they have now, like the dock, where you can make it into a console, but perhaps the dock itself is part of a actual like physical console, like a bigger console that has more power, more gaming capabilities. Okay. So like when you play on your console, just everything is magnified. Specs are magnified, smoothness.
Well, you don't want to clear. You don't want to clear your hard drive there.
What do you mean?
Oh, I thought you said magnetized.
No,
I'm sorry.
Don't put magnets on it. Don't do that.
Yeah, my bad.
I put a magnet on my laptop once when I was a teen. I killed my laptop.
Oh,
don't do it. It's very scary. But then maybe perhaps there's like a special port type of thing where you can then put your Switch to a PC. You can it like a transformer. Like you'd able to click it into different things that allow it to actually be functional as that thing, rather than the Switch becoming like, now it's a mouse, now it's this. It's like, why not put it into something that will back it up with the power and specs where you can run bigger games on it? I don't know. I'm trying to think of what that would look like.
That's not a bad idea.
I don't know.
But I disagree.
Okay. Fine. You asked me on the spot.
I did.
I don't know what.
And I had time to think about it.
I don't know what.
Answer.
And you heard my stupid idea. I don't know what Nintendo's like next thing should be.
Well, yeah.
Maybe they should take a break.
Ooh. I just don't think they can compete with the pockets of Microsoft and Sony as far as taking a loss to make this big, powerful system at a loss, and then like, they just don't. They can't. They're gonna get married. Buried.
They're getting married? Congrats.
That'd be cute, right? Well, Microsoft and Nintendo have some rumors of a little affair going on there. But anyway, I feel that not to be like, hey, stay in your lane. Society needs to remain as it is, and everything's perfect, and fuck you, little guy. Like, not that, but also that a little bit. But also, like, Nintendo is amazing at executing those gimmicks, frankly. It's like the Wii had motion controls and it was basically a souped up GameCube, like so much weaker than the PlayStation 3. And then the PlayStation 3 though had the Move and like Microsoft Connect, and it's like those were very state of the art, and yet it wasn't as good as the motion control that like Nintendo was able to kind of gimmick and make and yada yada. The Wii U was like really good for tablet gaming at the time. 3DS had the 3D without glasses, which I still don't understand how the fuck that works. That's some like next stage level shit. So what's the one thing that's the most gimmicky thing that Nintendo really hasn't experimented with?
VR.
Yes.
I should have
Other
said
than
that.
Labo.
We talked about this.
I know you had your little treehouse little Labo glasses thing. That's like, I know Nintendo kind of did their, but they didn't really try 3D.
Okay, wait.
And like a little cardboard, no, that doesn't count.
Idea.
Yeah.
Nintendo VR. Nintendogs VR. Where you get to enter, like, you had Nintendogs, right?
No.
No, you never did? You would like come into your home, which you never explored. It wasn't like a simulation game, but your dogs would come like running toward you on like a wooden floor, and you would somewhat see like what the house is. But most of it was just you were in a room with the dogs, and then you'd go on a walk or something.
Yeah.
VR Nintendogs where you can like fully go in the home, you go in the cabinet, you get out the dog food, you're like pouring them dog food, take them on a walk in your VR neighborhood. They try to eat chicken bones. You're like, stop that. Don't do that. I don't know. I think there is room for VR in the Nintendo world that would be so gimmicky.